Let's start with something interesting. Number 6. No chewing gum sales in Singapore. You can't legally buy chewing gum in Singapore. Not in supermarkets, not in convenience stores, not at checkout counters next to candy bars. And this isn't a forgotten, outdated rule. It's enforced. In 1992, Singapore introduced a nationwide ban on the sale of chewing gum. At first glance, it sounds extreme. Why regulate something as small as gum? It feels trivial, petty, almost absurd. So until you understand the context. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, Singapore was expanding its mass rapid transit, MRT system, a modern subway network designed to be clean, efficient, and highly reliable. But vandalism became a growing issue. Gum was being stuck on train doors, seats, buttons, and sensors. When gum interfered with door sensors, trains malfunctioned. Delays happened. Repairs became expensive. Cleaning crews constantly scraped hardened gum from public spaces. In a country built around strict order, efficiency, and cleanliness, this wasn't just annoying, it was disruptive. The government decided prevention was easier than endless cleanup. So instead of increasing fines alone, they banned the sale and import of chewing gum altogether. The logic was simple: no supply, no sticky mess. The rule wasn't about moral panic, it was about infrastructure control. Today, limited exceptions exist. The therapeutic gum, like nicotine gum for smokers, can be purchased at pharmacies with identification. But recreational chewing gum remains heavily restricted. Critics call it excessive. Supporters call it practical. What makes the law fascinating isn't just its strictness, it's that it works. Singapore's public spaces are famously clean. The subway system runs with remarkable efficiency. A minor nuisance became a national policy. A sticky problem became a national rule. And decades later, it still exists, not because it's ridiculous, but because it solved something. Number 5. Handling salmon suspiciously is illegal. It is illegal in the United Kingdom to handle salmon in suspicious circumstances. Yes, that is real wording. Under the Salmon Act 1986, a person commits an offense if they handle salmon in circumstances where they believe, or it would be reasonable to suspect, that the fish was illegally obtained. On the surface, it sounds absurd. What does handling salmon suspiciously even mean? Are police officers evaluating your posture while holding seafood? Is there a legal definition of suspicious fish behavior? The phrasing became a cultural joke, but the reason behind it isn't ridiculous at all. During the 20th century, illegal salmon poaching became a serious problem in the UK. Salmon are valuable fish, especially wild Atlantic salmon, and strict regulations exist to protect river ecosystems and fish populations. And poachers would catch salmon illegally, out of season, without licenses, or in restricted waters, then sell them into black markets. The difficulty wasn't catching the poachers, it was catching the middlemen. Once illegally caught fish entered the supply chain, it became harder to trace. So lawmakers targeted not just the act of poaching, but the possession and trade of salmon that appeared unlawfully sourced. The phrase suspicious circumstances exists to close loopholes. Yes, if someone buys salmon at an unusually low price from an unlicensed source in questionable conditions, and it would be reasonable to suspect illegality, they can be prosecuted. The wording sounds theatrical, but legally it's practical. It shifts responsibility to the handler, preventing plausible deniability. The law still exists because salmon populations remain environmentally significant. Conservation and regulated fishing are essential for sustainability. Oh, so no, the police aren't watching how confidently you hold a fillet at dinner, but the statute remains active. A sentence that sounds like comedy, written to protect ecosystems and close black market gaps. The wording may be strange, but the purpose is serious. And yes, handling salmon suspiciously is illegal. Number 4. No high heels at ancient sites. You can't wear high heels at certain ancient sites in Greece, not because of fashion rules, because of physics. In 2009, Greece implemented regulations banning visitors from wearing high-heeled shoes at major archaeological landmarks, including places like the Acropolis. At first glance, it sounds dramatic, almost theatrical. A government concerned about footwear choices? But the reasoning is surprisingly practical. High heels concentrate body weight onto a very small surface area. The thin heel tip acts like a pressure point. On modern pavement, that's manageable. On ancient marble that has endured over 2,000 years of erosion, tourism, and weathering, it's damage. Even small puncture-like pressure marks can gradually chip, scratch, or erode fragile surfaces. Multiply that by millions of visitors every year, and the effect becomes significant. Ancient Greek monuments aren't indestructible. They're already worn by time. Restoration projects on historical sites cost millions. Conservation teams work constantly to prevent further deterioration from pollution, climate, and foot traffic. Allowing high heels would accelerate microscopic damage that compounds over decades. The contrast makes the law feel humorous. Modern fashion. Ancient stone. A stiletto versus 5th century BCE marble. But beneath the irony is preservation. These monuments survived wars, invasions, earthquakes, and centuries of neglect. The last thing conservators want is incremental erosion caused by footwear trends. Visitors aren't banned. Heels are. It's not about controlling style. It's about protecting cultural heritage. Greece depends heavily on tourism, and its archaeological sites are national treasures. Safeguarding them requires sometimes unusual regulations. So yes, your outfit might need adjustment before climbing ancient steps. Not because the ruins care about aesthetics, but because stone remembers pressure. Fashion versus ancient marble. And marble wins. Number 3. You can't own just one guinea pig. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. Not because they're dangerous, not because they're rare, but because they get lonely. Under Swiss animal welfare law, guinea pigs are legally recognized as highly social animals. In the wild, they live in groups. They communicate constantly through squeaks, body language, and social interaction. Isolation causes measurable stress, changes in appetite, behavior, and even lifespan. So Switzerland made a decision that sounds almost unbelievable. It's if you own a guinea pig, you must keep at least 2. Selling a single guinea pig without ensuring it will have companionship is considered animal cruelty under the law. Pet stores and breeders must follow these guidelines. Owners are expected to provide social interaction, not just food and shelter. The idea feels strangely wholesome. Loneliness is treated as harm. This law didn't appear randomly. Switzerland has some of the strictest animal welfare protections in the world, so certain species are classified as socially dependent, meaning solitary confinement violates their basic behavioral needs. And it's not just guinea pigs. Similar regulations apply to other social animals, including certain birds and fish species. The legal philosophy is simple. Psychological well-being matters as much as physical survival. To many outsiders, the rule sounds excessive. It feels almost comical. A government legislating friendship between rodents. But research backs it. Guinea pigs deprived of social contact can become lethargic, anxious, and physically weaker. In their natural state, companionship isn't optional. It's essential. Switzerland took that science and turned it into policy. You can't legally treat a social animal as decorative furniture. You must treat it as a living creature with emotional needs. It's a strange law. It's oddly touching. And it reveals something deeper about cultural values. In this case, the state protects something invisible. Loneliness. Loneliness is illegal, at least for guinea pigs. Number 2. Running out of gas on the Autobahn is illegal. Running out of fuel on the Autobahn can get you fined. Not because Germany dislikes empty tanks, because it considers it negligence. The Autobahn is famous worldwide for stretches with no general speed limit. Cars regularly travel at 200 kilometers per hour or more. At those speeds, traffic flow depends on predictability and control. Sudden obstacles are dangerous. Just unexpected stops can be catastrophic. So German law treats running out of gas differently than many other countries. If you stop on the Autobahn because your vehicle malfunctioned, that's unfortunate. But if you stop because you simply didn't plan your fuel level properly, authorities can issue a fine. In some cases, it may even add penalty points to your driving record. Why? Because running out of gas is considered preventable. On a high-speed highway, a stationary vehicle creates serious risk. Even pulling onto the shoulder can disrupt traffic patterns. Other drivers may have little reaction time at high velocity. The Autobahn isn't designed for casual stops. It's engineered for continuous movement. German traffic law places heavy emphasis on responsibility. Drivers are expected to maintain their vehicles, check conditions, and ensure they are prepared before entering high-speed routes. Fuel level is part of that responsibility. The law sounds strict, but it reflects cultural priorities: efficiency, order, safety through preparation. The idea is simple. If you knew you were low on fuel and still chose to enter or remain on the Autobahn, you created avoidable danger. That's not bad luck. That's poor planning. And on one of the fastest highway systems in the world, poor planning carries consequences. It's not about punishing forgetfulness. It's about minimizing unnecessary risk in a system built for speed. So before merging into unlimited velocity lanes, one expectation remains clear: plan your drive, or pay for it. Number 1. Reincarnation requires state approval. In China, reincarnation technically requires government approval. It sounds like satire. It isn't. In 2007, China's State Administration for Religious Affairs issued regulations concerning the reincarnation of Tibetan Buddhist lamas. According to the policy, any living Buddha seeking recognition of reincarnation must receive official government approval. Unauthorized claims of reincarnation are considered illegal. At first glance, the rule feels surreal. Reincarnation is a spiritual belief. The idea that a soul is reborn into a new body after death. How can a government regulate something metaphysical? The answer lies in politics, not theology. In Tibetan Buddhism, high-ranking spiritual leaders, including the Dalai Lama, are traditionally recognized as reincarnated beings. When a prominent Lama dies, religious authorities search for a child believed to be their reincarnation. That child can grow to hold significant spiritual, and sometimes cultural, influence. In regions where religion and identity are closely tied, influence matters. The Chinese government's regulation is rooted in its broader approach to religious oversight. By requiring state approval for recognized reincarnations, then authorities maintain control over official religious leadership structures. The rule ensures that recognized spiritual figures align with state policy. It's less about the supernatural, more about governance. Critics view the regulation as interference in religious freedom. Supporters frame it as administrative order within the country's legal framework. Either way, the rule exists, written into policy. The wording alone captures global attention. Reincarnation. Approval forms. Authorization procedures. It feels like bureaucracy stepping into eternity, but from a legal perspective, it reflects how seriously institutional influence is taken. Even spiritual succession is treated as something with political consequence. It's a law that sounds fictional, yet it's real. In this case, belief intersects with authority, and even the afterlife has paperwork.